Lift Jet propulsion system. We're out in front of Pacific North Sports Shop in downtown Bellingham, Washington. We're going to take you through an install, and we're going to ride and review the new propulsion system from Lift. So we're going to convert this to this. First, we're going to start by disassembling the old unit. You're going to take the retaining screw out of the prop. You're going to have to use the back of a screwdriver or something to secure that prop while you back that out. Keep track of the pin, the retaining pin, as you're going to need it for the jet system. Next, you're going to remove the 4 bolts that secure the shroud to the back of the motor. Once those are off, you're going to take the first piece of the jet and put it on the shaft and just turn it till you can see that the holes for the 4 retaining screws are lined up. Tighten those bolts in. Next, you're going to take the impeller, put it on the shaft. Make sure you line it up with the retaining pin in place. Use Loctite to tighten the retaining bolt for the impeller. The outer housing fits into a slot and then slides, kind of clicks into place. Once it's in place, the screw holes for the 4 retaining bolts will be clear. Like you can see that you can fit it in there. This is maybe the hardest part, is taking those little tiny retaining bolts and putting them into the slots there. You can see my fingers are just a little too big. So tighten all 4 of those retaining bolts, and then that outer housing is going to be stuck in place, but perfectly secure and ready to go. And that's it. It's fully installed. Now with everything installed and working, it's time to get out in the water and see how this performs in actual use. So we had kind of a funny day for testing this day that we're showing you here. It's blowing like 30 knots, probably gusting at 30 knots in the bay, and we're kind of in this side channel, but we're still getting swell off the point there, so maybe a half a mile out the channel. There's quite a bit of swell, so I was able to test it on like swelly waves as well as flat water the same day. It's pretty weedy, so I got a little bit of weed action as well. Okay, so the Lift Jet, this is it. Just got off the water. Put this guy on the aluminum propulsion system, which is the 28-inch aluminum propulsion system. I did that because I figured this was going to be a safety item for new guys. After actually riding it and demoing it, not so sure of that anymore. So, a couple of things. I talked to other guys. The crew at Lift said that the Lift Jet was more efficient, and I'm like, there's no way it's more efficient. There's no way you're going to get more battery life using this propulsion system over a regular propeller. And I was right. It's not more efficient battery-wise. I think what they meant was this is more efficient drag-wise when you let off the throttle. So I had this big 250 Surf V2 wing on here. We had some swell. We had like 30 knot winds in the bay today. So I'm out there and that swell's kind of rolling in. I'm catching those waves. And even with the big fat 250, I was able to ease off that throttle and take some rides on those waves. And what I found is this jet had a lot less drag than the shrouded, LCS prop or the shrouded regular fixed prop. Maybe more drag. I'd say more drag for sure than the folding prop, but maybe in between those two. So maybe like a fixed prop without the shroud, which is amazing because you still have the protection, even more protection than a regular shrouded propeller. So number one is that's the big one. Number two, the throttle, it takes a little bit more throttle to get the same amount of push is what I felt, which was awesome actually. It was awesome because it was a smoother throttle control, and then because you're kind of a higher power setting, you have like this ambient pull, whereas the more torquier fixed 3-blade prop, when you let off that throttle a little bit, it really drops the thrust, and when you juice the throttle, it really juices that thrust. This guy has just kind of an ambient flow of power, so it was a lot more smooth. It was smoother power delivery as well as easing it off. So when I'm on those waves and I'm kind of adjusting that power on and off, sometimes you lose it and you have to power up. This was much smoother than the folding prop or the fixed prop is what I felt. And those are kind of the two big ones. What I can see this being used for is, you know, new guys, new people, obviously, you know, it's a really safe way to propel an eFoil. You know, you can't get in there. It's also great for new people because of that power delivery we just talked about. That's nice. Oh, one thing I didn't mention. So I tried to get a video of the jet actually breaching. I wanted to see what it looked like underneath the board, so I was kind of messing with that. What I noticed is you get an extra inch or so of height because this is smaller. You know, so this is 28 inches down to here, which gives you about, you know, 24 inches or so to the propeller normally. Well, you get an extra inch because this is a smaller diameter, so you're going to get more clearance. So the other use case, other than new guys, I think is people who want to get in the surf and start surfing waves, maybe even bigger waves. You know, things get dynamic in the surf. You know, getting hurt with the prop is not a way people get hurt with the eFoil. I'm sure it happens. I've never seen it. People get hurt sometimes on eFoils. It's usually like bruised legs, you hit your elbow, kind of stuff like that. It's never getting into the prop. That's not something that happens. The caveat to that is when you start getting to waves, especially breaking waves, stuff happens. You know, things are dynamic, you're rolling, boards are rolling, that kind of thing. That's one use case where I could totally see getting the lift jet and throwing it on that board and getting out there and getting dynamic. Here in Bellingham, we have a lot of weeds in the summer, which is just the grass that grows up. A lot of places have that. The wind kicks it up and then the weeds kind of float on the surface. I didn't have any problems with weeds today, you know, so I didn't get like a test. I don't know if that's because it was the jet or whatever, but I could definitely see weeds being a lot less problematic than a normal fixed prop, especially if you're riding shroudless on the fixed prop. You know, you get in the weeds that way. And that's kind of my 2 cents on the Lift Jet for $399. It's like the deal of the century. So I'd say definitely pick one up. Has a bit of a different feel. If you've ridden a fixed blade without the shroud or a folding prop, you know things get pretty skatey. You don't have as much yaw stability because of that shroud. That shroud, you know, when it's going through the water, provides a little bit of stability yaw-wise, probably pitch-wise as well. But you know, this does the rear wing does such a good job with pitch stability. You probably don't feel it, but the yaw stability for sure. You get a lot looser rear end, you know, and it kind of carves around those turns. So I don't know, it's different. You know, for a $399, I think it's worth checking out. Breach test. So here's a visual breach test of the Lift Jet coming out of the water here. You slow it down, yeah, right there, comes out. The breaches are really mild, no big deal. You know, I think it has something to do with the high throttle setting. You need a higher throttle setting with this. So that is the breach test. Okay, that's about all we have to say on the Lift Jet subject. If you guys need any of these or anything else Lift makes, give us a call or check us out online. Thanks for watching. See you on the water.